shoot me in my ass. In my ass! At the end of my concert, I pull my pants down and show my ass. Like this, what y'all saying? Shoot me in the middle? Shoot me in the ass. Got it in the ass. Shoot me twice in my hit it another time. Put it in my ass. Come on. Come on. Shoot me in the ass. Come on. Shoot me in the ass twice in the middle. Come on. Put it in my ass. Put it in my ass. Put it in my ass like a put it in my ass. Put it in my ass. Come on. Right here in the ass.
Good morning, America and the rest of the world. Xander J. Hobson here, stand-up comedian and entertainer, director and producer of boxing documentaries, internet troll to those who need internet trolling. This is another episode of the Devil's Advocate brought to you by the Brilliant Artist Movement. Folks, I'm trying to grow the platform, so please subscribe, like this video, hate this video, share it. Leave a comment in the comment section. It could be something nice, or it could be something nasty. But just know, if you get cute in my comment section, I'm going to take your damn head off. I'm the troll's troll, and trolling me will not be tolerated. So anyway, Dave Chappelle has caused quite a bit of controversy with his most recent body of work, Closer. Dave Chappelle pretty much telling the LGBTQ community to knock it off with all the oversensitivity. There is something called freedom of speech, and we artists need our freedom of speech to be able to express ourselves creatively while entertaining folks. Well, this didn't sit well with some of the members of the LGBTQ, and there was a call for the cancellation of Dave Chappelle. Folks, if you know anything about Dave Chappelle, you know that once upon a time, he canceled himself by walking away from a multi-million-dollar contract. So, Dave Chappelle didn't care about canceling himself. You know damn well he doesn't care about being canceled by the LGBTQ. Before we go any further, I want to say this. Big ups to Dave Chappelle. It's about time that someone stood up to those LGBTQ thugs. Well, folks, this whole thing going on with Dave Chappelle, cancel culture, it makes me want to pose a handful of questions. Number one, is the LGBTQ using its power and influence to buck break African American actors and entertainers? That's number one. Two, are African American actors and entertainers prostituting themselves to the LGBTQ power structure in Hollywood and entertainment?
Put it in my ass. Come on. Come on. Shoot me in the ass. Come on. Shoot me in the ass twice in the middle. Come on. Put it in my ass. Put it in my ass. Put it in my ass like a put it in my ass. Put it in my ass. Come on.
And number three, where does this leave up and coming actors and entertainers like myself? Individuals who want to make it on their talent and the content of their character. Individuals who don't want to compromise or sell out. Folks who want to put in an honest day's work for an honest day's pay.
You know, for me, I can only speak from my journey. Once I put the dress on and I had that fire was put out. Yeah. And I only did it one time. So Matt's doing it 3 times, 4 times. But then Tyler Perry did, he got stronger. I don't know the rules. You know what I'm saying? This is what happened to me. I'm not here knocking another brother because that's their path. Yeah. That's one thing I don't do is knock my brothers. Because that's their path. But I'm saying my path, when I put on a dress, it came with a demon baby mama and a starter kit for hell. That's what happened to me. You haven't seen me since, to be honest. But then I feel stronger though.
Would you like warn other stand-up comedians about the dress?
Yeah, I had an interview too where I would do it. I would do it eloquently and say I wouldn't wear the dress if you're chosen. You know, some people can wear a dress, it doesn't affect them, but you know, I don't know. For me, it didn't work, so I can say I wouldn't advise anybody to do it.
Where does this leave up and coming actors and entertainers like myself? Individuals who want to make it on their talent and the content of their character. individuals who don't want to compromise or sell out. Folks who want to put in an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, lesbians, gays, and hermaphrodites, if you don't know anything else about Hollywood, you know that they are notorious for casting African Americans in the most despicable roles imaginable. Fools, criminals, pimps, hoes, pretty much the pariahs of society. You take Holly Berry, for example. This woman is a great actress. However, in order to be nominated and to receive an Academy Award in the movie The Mobster's Ball, she had to play the part of an unfaithful wife who had a graphic sex scene with a white character. Denzel Washington, another stellar actor, a member of Hollywood's A-list. In order for him to be nominated and to receive an Academy Award, he played the role of a despicable, dirty cop. Star Wars, for example. If you know anything about Star Wars, Billy D. Williams played the part of space pirate Lando Calrissian. And if you know anything about the characteristics of Lando Calrissian, you know that he's pretty much nothing more than a slick, underhanded nigga with cowardly tendencies. Now, this is the image of African Americans that Hollywood has presented to the world in a galaxy far, far away. The black guy is a slick, underhanded nigga with cowardly tendencies. Nowadays, it's not uncommon to see an African American actor, a male in particular, cast in the role as a member of the LGBTQ. And if they're not cast in the role as a member of the LGBTQ, their character is doing something that is LGBTQ-ish.
Put it in my ass, come on! Shoot me in the ass, come on! Shoot me in the ass, right in the middle, come on! Put it in my ass! Put it in my ass! Put it in my ass like a... Put it in my ass! Put it in my ass, come on!
Now let's be clear about something. I don't have a problem with an African American being cast in a role as a member of the LGBTQ because that is a fair depiction of our society. However, what I do have a problem with is when they cast African Americans as members of the LGBTQ, more than likely it is the worst example of the LGBTQ, which goes back to what I initially said. Most of the time, Hollywood cast African Americans or depict African Americans on screen, it is usually in the most despicable light imaginable. Growing up, I knew gays and lesbians, and I wouldn't go as far as to say that we were friends, but we were definitely all right. And the only reason why we wasn't friends because when I grew up, everybody stayed in their own lane and we were all separated by the boundaries of respect. But I said all of that to say this. All the gays and lesbians that I knew growing up, they were all dignified people. And in all honesty, if you didn't know these individuals personally, you wouldn't know what their sexual orientation was. Which brings me back to the crux of my argument. Is the LGBTQ community buck-breaking African American actors and entertainers? Are African American actors and entertainers prostituting themselves to the LGBTQ power structure in Hollywood and entertainment? And finally, where does that leave up-and-coming actors and entertainers like myself? Folks who want to make it on their talent and the content of their character. Folks who don't want to compromise and sell out. Folks who want to put in an honest day's work for honest day's pay. Again, is the LGBTQ power structure buck-breaking African American actors and entertainers? If you saw the movie Pulp Fiction, you know that Vin Rames' character humiliating emasculation by being violently raped on screen by a white guy in a black leather outfit. Now, wait one goddamn minute. Pulp Fiction had an all-star cast. And you're telling me, out of all the actors in Pulp Fiction, you mean the black guy had to be the one who was brutally raped on screen? Now, in all fairness to Pulp Fiction, Christopher Walken's character suffered a similar humiliating emasculation by having to go through a large majority of the movie with a watch up his ass. So I get it. Pulp Fiction was somewhat fair about the emasculation of a black man and the emasculation of a white man on screen, but to be perfectly honest with you, I'm African American and I am concerned about the image of African Americans. Therefore, I don't give a damn what the white image looks like on screen. If you saw the movie, The Onion Film, you know that the actor Franklin Seals, his character suffered a similar humiliating emasculation when he had to act out the part of getting down on his knees and performing oral sex on the character James Woods. If you saw the movie Central Intelligence, you know that The Rock and Kevin Hart done things that were LGBTQ-ish. Now I want to change directions briefly in order to drive home my point. There was a time when Hollywood and entertainment was largely ran by male heterosexuals who were mostly Jewish. During that time, they had something called the casting couch. And basically, the whole aim or goal of the casting couch was, if you wanted to play, you had to pay. And often enough, some beautiful up-and-coming woman, she had the opportunity to further her acting career by playing on the casting couch with the powers that be in Hollywood. However, if she had values and morals and a code that she lived by, she took her ass back to Kansas or wherever the hell she came from because she realized that Hollywood wasn't for her. Now, I said that to say this. At this current point in time, Hollywood seems to be ran largely by members of the LGBTQ. And for that reason, this is why you see a lot of things going on that is LGBTQ-ish. Now, I said all of that to say this, right? Growing up, I knew guys who prostituted themselves to gay men with money. Now, some of these guys were high-end, and they got cars and money out of the gay men whom they prostituted themselves to. Some of these guys, they weren't as sophisticated. Some of these guys were poor, and the only thing they prostituted themselves for was sneakers, food, and at times, a place to live. Now, I said all that to say this. We're not going to put all the blame on members of the LGBTQ in Hollywood and entertainment. No, we got to point the finger at some of these African American actors who take these parts. Now, this is acting, and I do understand that the individuals who are acting out these roles that are LGBTQ-ish, they have a choice. They have a choice. And you have some actors that wouldn't take parts or roles that go against their values and morals and the code that they live by are for sale. There is something called a personal choice. So again, you can't put it all on the LGBTQ. Some of the blame for what we are seeing on screen has to be placed on the African American actors that take these roles. Now I'm going to get ready to wrap this up because I think I done pretty much covered this in every detail imaginable. But I want to wrap this video up by saying this. I'm not here to knock any actor doing whatever it is they felt they had to do. Acting and entertainment, it's a rough grind, and the shoes get scuffed because the road is rough. You hear the horror stories about actors and entertainers being poverty-stricken.
When I was a kid, all I wanted to be was on TV. You know, I don't want nothing else. My father told me to just keep the faith, keep believing in that. A lot of missteps, man. Flunking out of college, you know, getting fired from some pretty cool jobs, and then, you know, becoming homeless, you know, breaking off into stand-up at 27, becoming homeless for 3 years, you know, living in a car, driving up down the road, you know, trying to make it, all with this notion that one day I was going to have Steve Harvey show.
So, understanding Hollywood is rough, and if a part comes up involving something that is LGBTQ in nature, and that part is going to change your life, I understand. You know, it's not my place. I'm not condemning anybody for doing what they got to do to put food in their stomach, to get their own apartment, to get their life in gear, and to take care of their family. But I am reporting on this because I am concerned about the image of the African Americans. There are a lot of actors that I have a lot of respect for who have done things that I would consider LGBTQ in nature. You take Tyler Perry. I have an immense degree of respect for this man. This man has worn a dress, and he has put countless African Americans to work by playing the part of Medea. So again, I don't want you to think that I'm shitting on anyone, because I'm not. But again, I'm one of these individuals. I live by a code. I have values that are unshakable, and I have a code that I live by that can't be bought or sold. Now, if you find yourself in any way being insulted by something that I said here, the only thing I can say to you is this: go get you some goddamn therapy. You did, or you're doing what you have to do in order to come up, and I'm doing what it is that I have to do in order to come up.
Alright, now you sons of bitches, you know how I feel.
I'm done with it.